Moving on to the next team, Jacksonville Jaguars. They fired their head coach, Doug Peterson, and they fired their GM and, head coach Liam Cohen. That son of a.
Duval.
Yeah. When he's now there with Jim Gladstone, there in Jacksonville, they make a big splash in the draft to get Travis Hunter. Awesome guy, right? I mean, I think he's going to be, he's a generational talent. But he was the offensive coordinator last year for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He had one stint with Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield had probably his career year last year, And so now he's going to be the savior for Trevor Lawrence because let's face it, Trevor Lawrence has not lived up to the hype that he was supposed to live up to when he was coming out of Clemson and, coming to Jacksonville. Now, has he had the greatest head coach cycle? No, not necessarily. So, there has to be a little bit of grace. But what is Liam Cohen going to be able to do? They released Evan Ingram. They traded Christian Kirk. They did sign, a few guys for the offensive line. And then, like I said, they went out. Their biggest splash was they went out and they got the two-way star, Travis Hunter from Colorado. Carlos, Jacksonville, they're a team that can either do really, really good or really, really bad. And I feel like that they're never in that middle of the pack. They're either on the bottom or towards the top. I don't know what it's going to be this year, but I do have a question for you. Speaking of Trevor Lawrence, and then also speaking of Anthony Richardson, who has more pressure on them to have a turnaround year? Because Trevor Lawrence has not lived up to the hype, but Anthony Richardson also is starting to look kind of like a bust as well.
Yeah. I think it's Trevor. Like last year, he didn't have a good year. He was hurt for a good part of the year, and we saw Mac Jones. But 2023 he's over 4,000 yards. 2022 he's over 4,100. Jacksonville is probably one of the most underachieving teams that I've seen in a while because they've had good players there. They just, the fist stinks from the head down type of thing. They've never had the guy at the head coach, I think, to push them. I actually thought Doug Peterson was going to do well there. I was surprised that
I did too.
I thought he was going to do well. But they've, I think they're revamping. They've gotten rid of some guys. With Christian Kirk's gone, they've gotten younger. I feel like what Liam Cohen is going to do with them. He's a young guy. He relates to players. Even the whole Duval thing, it caught on a little bit, and that's that youngness of like these we see with like Sean McVay and some others that are younger coaches that relate to these players. I think Trevor Lawrence has a bounce back year. He's got Brian Thomas Jr. Yeah. This guy is, man, he's good. He is really good. And I think Travis Hunter's going to be good. They're going to have to get Travis Hunter on the other side of the ball. Whether maybe he's the new third down pass rusher specialist. He just comes in, it's 3rd and 10, 3rd and 8, and you bring him in and you slip him in on the corner instead of on the edge. But the guy is an elite corner, man. I'm surprised they're getting him so much offensive work, but they need him. So they need this guy to be to live up to what he is. And I think he's going to do it. The guy has tremendous work effort. There was that video of him running, like people were like, what the hell is this guy running? Have we never seen those routes? They're rounded off. It doesn't look good. What they didn't show was 2 hours after practice of him working over and over and over and over on those routes. So they got a decent receiving core. If Hunter pans out, they got Dwamie Brown, who I like. He's not a bad guy. And then Brian Thomas, who's one of the, he's in my top 7 or 8 for sure. But freaking NFL stacked for receivers. Offensive line, they're better. You would know better than anything with Hansley moving to center there. If he was, I don't know how good he was with the Bucks. And so they brought some guys
Hansley,
in.
So yeah, Hansley as the center, he is fantastic. The guy could play pretty much any position on the offensive line. And he was a good rotational guy that Tampa used a lot, especially because over the past several years, Tampa has had some injuries there on the offensive line. And Hansley has filled in. He filled in Jenkins there for a little bit and held his own. So I'm very happy with Hansen or Hansy. And I think that he got the money that he deserves. So I'm glad to see him, getting the recognition. And I mean, with being with Liam, I think that it's only going to pair very well. I'm very curious to see what's going to happen with Trevor Lawrence. This is Trevor Lawrence's final chance. I feel like this is.
It is. I don't know. I think he bounces back. I think Liam is I think he's
yes,
a quarterback friendly system, and he's got the people to do it. With the Bucks though, Liam didn't really use the tight end a lot, and I think getting rid of Ingram. I'm a big fan of Evan Ingram, good catching tight end, but Strange he can catch the ball and he can block, where Ingram wasn't that great of a blocker. So I think if you look at Liam is building this team to look like the Bucks, and I think it was a good move of him bringing in the Hansey in, because now you have somebody that understands the system, and the center calling out all the the pass or the blocking assignments. I think is big. It's a big help. So he's on the field, but not on the field with Cohen. So I think they're gonna. I don't have them winning the division, but I think they're going to bounce back, and I think this is the second place team in the division. I think Etienne's a good back, but I do like that they brought in Tutton from Virginia Tech. They got Tank Bigsby, which is okay, but I think you're going to see Tutton get more.
He's more of a flashy guy.
Yeah, he gives it. He's got that speed where the other ones don't. And on defense, they're good. They brought in a couple guys, Eric Murray from Houston, to play in the corner. He's a good player. So they're shoring up some stuff, but they're young. I think they're a 500 team. I think I'm looking like 9-8 with them, but I think they're going to be a fun team to watch. I think they're going to put some points up, which I hope, because I have Brian Thomas Jr. as my keeper in one of my fantasy football leagues. So I would love him to be the wide receiver 1 this year. That would be fantastic.
Yeah, I remember we had that discussion, and definitely Brian Thomas, I was like, yeah, you need to keep that guy, because I think here with this offense with Liam, and I mean, think about the attention that Travis Hunter is going to get from defenses, right? Because I mean, he's going to be one of those guys that when he's out there on the field, you have to account for him. Like you can't lose track of him, right? So I think it's going to just boost the value of Brian Thomas Jr. Carlos, I do have a fantasy question for you. This is kind of a side note here. We didn't really talk about this, but
words matter.
Not like that. No. That's for our Patreons. But Travis Hunter, I had an argument with a friend of mine, and I said Travis Hunter is going to get picked way too early in every single fantasy draft this year. And he was like, no, there's no way. I think he's going to fall, because he was saying that he was looking at trying to draft Travis Hunter in like the 5th or 6th round. I'm like, there's no way that he even survives to that. I'm like, someone is going to pick him up with their first pick. Someone is going to pick him up in almost every league with their first pick.
Yeah, I think I would be surprised if he fell to a 5th or 6th round, I guess, depending, but no. I mean, there's enough negative film out there that he might, but I think you're right. I think somebody's going to take him in the 3rd, maybe the 4th at the latest, especially if you're in a league where defensive players matter. So you could go, if he sucked at wide receiver, you just move him to defense. Yeah, I think he gets picked way too early. I think people are going to reach on him, but he technically, for me, should be. He could be. For me, he's more of a 6th round pick for me. I think there's so many other things that you need when it comes to fantasy, and I don't know if I definitely won't be picking him because I have Brian Thomas Jr. But yeah, there's always those guys who overreach for people. You know who's, if we're thinking of an underrated guy who I think is, some people will overreach for him, but I think a lot of leagues he'll slip through the cracks, and it's TJ. I think it's Warren. I think being on Indy. Yeah, and they don't use they've never used a tight end really a lot. I think he's a guy that I don't think he gets reached for. I think he falls further than what people think, unless you get that one guy who's just like, nah. But Loveland could be a guy that,
get the subscribers of the Beard Zone, hit that subscribe button. We appreciate it, guys.
So yeah, I think he's like the opposite version. But yeah, I don't foresee him hanging around to the 6th round.
No, I don't foresee it anyway. Anyway, we digress.